Nobody ever got out of poverty by skipping a burger. Let me say that again. No one has ever gone from broke to financially stable because they stopped buying a $5 meal. That advice exists to make rich people feel better about telling poor people what to do, and it is completely useless to you. In this video, I'm going to show you what actually moves the needle when you're on a low income. Real levers, real numbers. The stuff the finance gurus skip because it doesn't make a good Instagram quote. Why most finance advice is useless for you. Here's the math nobody wants to show you. If you skip a $5 burger every day for a year, you save $1,825. That sounds decent until you realize that in most cities, 1 month's rent increase alone can wipe that out. 1 car repair, 1 medical bill, 1 emergency, gone. Small expense cuts are not a financial strategy. They're a distraction. They keep you focused on the $5 decisions, while your life is actually being shaped by your $800, $1,200, and $1,500 decisions. Your rent, your debt, interest, your income, ceiling. The finance industry loves telling broke people to cut small expenses because it puts the blame on your lifestyle instead of the actual problem, which is the gap between what you earn and what life actually costs. So we're not talking about that today. Today, we're talking about the actual levers, the ones that make a real difference when your income is limited. There are 5 of them, and if you work just 2 or 3 of these seriously, your financial life looks completely different in 12 months. The biggest expense is where the biggest gains are. Your single largest expense controls everything else. For most low-income households, that's rent, and it typically takes up 40 to 60% of the entire monthly income. That's not a small cuts problem. That's a housing problem. So the first question isn't, how do I spend less on food? The first question is, can I reduce my housing cost? Option 1, a roommate. I know, nobody wants a roommate. But splitting a $1,200 apartment with one person saves you $600 a month. That's $7,200 a year. No amount of skipped meals gets you anywhere close to that. Option 2, negotiate your rent. This sounds crazy, but it works, especially if you've been in the same place for a year or more and you always pay on time. Landlords hate vacancy and turnover. It costs them thousands to find a new tenant. If you go to them before your lease renewal and say, "I'd like to stay, but I need a better rate," a lot of them will work with you. I've seen people save $100 to $150 a month this way, every single month. Option 3, location arbitrage. If you live in a high-cost city and you have any flexibility in where you work, this is worth taking seriously. Moving from an expensive zip code to a cheaper one, even in the same metro area, can drop rent by $300 to $500 a month. That is a raise without getting a raise. I'm not saying uproot your life overnight. I'm saying housing is where the real money is hidden. If you can move this one number, even by $100, it beats every other small cut you'll ever make. Stop treating your paycheck like a ceiling. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. Most people on low incomes treat their paycheck like a fixed, permanent fact. This is what I make, full stop. But your income is not a ceiling. It's a floor. And there are 2 ways to raise it, internally and externally. Internally means going after more money at the job you already have. When did you last ask for a raise? Not hint at it. Actually asked. With a number, in writing, or face-to-face. Most people haven't done this in years. A 10% raise on a $2,000 per month income is an extra $200 a month, $2,400 a year. That is more than any savings hack in existence. Before you ask, do 3 things. Look up what your role pays in your area on Glassdoor or Indeed right now. Document 2 or 3 specific ways you've added value in the last 6 months. Then ask. The worst they say is no, and you're no worse off than before. Externally means a second income stream, but not the kind that requires you to start a brand, build an audience, or invest money you don't have. I'm talking about cash in hand, start this week income. Selling your skill directly to people around you. If you can fix things, cars, appliances, electronics, bikes, you have a side income. Post on Facebook Marketplace and Nextdoor tonight. Handyman work pays $25 to $50 an hour cash in most neighborhoods. If you can clean houses, offices, Airbnbs, you have a side income. One recurring cleaning client at $80 per visit, twice a month, is $160 extra every single month for roughly 3 hours of work. If you have a truck or van, you have a side income. Moving help, hauling junk, furniture transport. Apps like Dolly connect you with jobs already. No marketing needed. The point is this: every extra $200 a month you bring in does more for your financial life than 2 years of cutting small expenses. Income is the lever. Pull it. The invisible tax you're paying every month. If you have high-interest debt, credit cards, payday loans, buy now, pay later balances, that debt is the single most expensive thing in your life right now. And most people don't even think of it as an expense. Here's the math. The average credit card in the US charges around 24% interest per year. If you're carrying a $2,000 balance and making minimum payments, you will pay over $800 in interest alone before that debt is cleared. And it will take you years to clear it. That $800 doesn't buy you anything. It disappears. Every month, a chunk of your income goes to a bank as a fee for borrowing money you already spent. Debt interest is a budget leak that no amount of grocery savings can fix. Before you optimize anything else, you have to stop the bleeding. The strategy is simple. Not easy, but simple. List every debt you have. Write down the balance and the interest rate next to each one. Then, throw every available dollar at the highest interest rate debt first, while making minimum payments on everything else. This is called the avalanche method, and it saves you the most money mathematically. If that feels too slow, and you need a psychological win to stay motivated, start with the smallest balance instead. Pay it off completely. Feel that. Then move to the next one. This is the snowball method. It costs a little more in interest, but it keeps more people on track. And a strategy you stick with beats a perfect strategy you abandon. Either way, pick one and start. Even an extra $50 a month toward your highest interest debt dramatically shortens the timeline. Because every month you clear debt faster, you free up more monthly income permanently. That's a raise you give yourself. Not cutting burgers, cutting the things you forgot you're paying for. Okay, so I said we're not doing the small cuts game, and we're not. But there is one version of cutting expenses that actually matters, and it's different from telling you to stop enjoying your life. It's recurring charges you forgot exist. Open your bank app right now. Go to the last 30 days. Look for anything that charges you automatically every month, and ask yourself honestly, did I consciously choose to spend this money this month? Most people find between $50 and $120 in forgotten subscriptions in the first 5 minutes of doing this. Not $5 here and there. I'm talking gym memberships not visited since January, streaming services you cycle through and forget to cancel, free trials that rolled into paid plans 8 months ago, app subscriptions you used twice, cloud storage you don't need. I found $74 a month when I first did this. That's $888 a year going to companies for services I wasn't using. That's real money. The rule: if you haven't actively used it in the last 14 days, cancel it. Today, not later. You can resubscribe anytime. What you can't get back is the money it took while you weren't paying attention. This is different from cutting your burger, because you made a choice to eat that burger. These are charges that are happening to you while you sleep. Eliminating them isn't sacrifice. It's just paying attention. The one thing that stops you from going backwards. Here's why most people fail at saving money on a low income. And it's not discipline, and it's not laziness. It's the absence of a buffer. You start building savings. You're making progress. And then something breaks: your car, your phone, a medical bill. And because you have nothing between you and that emergency, you drain the savings account. You're back at zero. And it feels so demoralizing that a lot of people just give up entirely. The fix is not a 6-month emergency fund. That kind of advice is written for people who already have margin. The fix is $500. That's it. $500, sitting completely separately from your checking account, untouched, only for genuine emergencies. That amount covers most car repairs, most co-pays, most of the sudden expenses that derail people at our income level. It won't cover everything, but it covers most things. And most things is enough to keep your progress from being destroyed. Before you do anything else on this list, before the debt payoff acceleration, before the savings goals, build the $500 wall. Even if it takes 2 or 3 months, even if you can only put $40 into it per paycheck, build it first. It is the foundation everything else sits on. Once that $500 is locked in, now you're playing offense instead of defense. Now the rest of these levers start compounding. The real low-income financial playbook. So here is what this actually looks like when you put it together. Not theory. A real sequence. Month 1 to 2. Do the subscription audit. Cancel the forgotten charges. Use that money to start building your $500 emergency buffer. Month 2 to 4, $500 buffer is built. Now, redirect that money. Start paying extra on your highest interest debt. Even $50 more per month matters. Month 3 plus, pursue the raise or add one side income stream. Even $150 extra per month changes the entire pace of everything. Month 6 plus, with debt shrinking and income growing, start a dedicated savings account. $10 a day is $300 a month. In 12 months, that's $3,600 without feeling deprived. Ongoing. Keep revisiting the housing question. Every $100 you reduce rent by is $1,200 a year and the highest impact move available to you. That's the sequence. It's not sexy. It doesn't go viral on Instagram, but it is what actually works. Built around the real numbers of real life, not a personal finance textbook written for someone making 3 times what you make. The problem was never the burger. The problem was never the burger. It was never the coffee. It was never your discipline, or your work ethic, or your lifestyle choices. The problem is a system where housing costs have gone up 40% in 5 years. Wages haven't kept pace, and the advice being handed to people at the bottom is still, cut the latte. That advice protects the system. It doesn't protect you. What protects you is understanding which levers actually move the needle and then pulling them in the right order. Housing, income, debt, forgotten expenses, emergency buffer, savings. In that order. If you got something real out of this today, hit like right now. It genuinely helps me reach more people who need this. Subscribe, because next week I'm going deep on how to actually negotiate a raise, even if you've never done it before, even if you're nervous. Even if you think your boss will say no, I'll show you exactly what to say. That video could put an extra $200 to $400 in your pocket every single month permanently. And comment below, which one of these 5 levers are you working on right now? I want to know where you're at. I read every comment. See you next week.